thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. So we're here today to discuss music and film. Thank you to Veronica for inviting us today. This was based on a conversation on the International Puerto Rican Heritage Film Festival. That's a long one. And we wanted to have some discussions about music and the relationship between the musician and the filmmaker. So today we have a few musicians, filmmakers, legendary people. So I'm going to pass it over to Millan so he can kind of set the tone for us.
What's your name? So who's your name?
My name is William Millan.
Millan.
And this is David Soto,
Okay.
also known as Daso.
Okay.
I want to thank David for asking me to come and participate and share with all of you. It's actually a blessing to be here with other people to share this moment in time. And I got a chance to check out some of the work of the panelists here, which I thought was fantastic. You have to forgive me because it's the first time I'm moderating any event, so I'm not experienced, but we're going to try our best. The deal with my background is I started off one profession as a musician and then retired from that profession and went into social work. And I had a discussion with David about how music works with film, and we discussed some of the components of film and some of the components of music. And as we discussed the issues, it dawned on me, I said, this is the same thing that they taught in social work school. It's exactly the same thing. Really, we're talking about life skills, okay? And what music means to us as individuals, as human beings, and what film means to us as human beings. And basically, I found it really interesting that we're, at this point in time, trying to work on bringing the public these productions because it's so important. It's such a crazy time to live in, as you all know, following the politics. This stuff is out of control. But the film and music is what brings us back down and anchors us. Okay? And hopefully you'll get positive energy out of the productions that are being offered by this panel and the new wave of filmmakers and musicians. So I think about everything in terms of a continuum. There's always a start to everything, a developmental period, and an end. And that applies across the board to everything we're doing. Every piece of music is like that. There's an intro, development, and a coda. Same thing with film. You'll see them roll the credits, set up the film, develop it, and then there's always an ending. So is a session. Right now we're in the intro part. We're going to try to develop it throughout the session, and hopefully by the end of it, we'll come out with something happy that you can take home with you and reflect on later on. So I'm going to start with some of the questions, and hopefully we'll develop some of this as we go along. And I guess I'm going to start with you, William.
Sure.
You spoke first.
Yeah, that's right.
First question is, why is music and film important to you, and what role does it play in your work?
That's a heavy one. I'm William Rosario. I'm one of the filmmakers. Here we got a documentary going on later on, Last One Standing. So for me, I use music in several ways. Like all of us, it inspires us in many of our work. That's part of the process. Once you get an idea going, you use different types of music to get you to that point where you feel that you want to transmit that feeling. You know, in our case, it's through our vision, because we, as filmmakers, we communicate through those images. But music helps. It's like the glue that gets us all together, and helps me transmit that vision or that feeling that I want to transmit with that scene, etc. So that's part of the process, which I
basically, you're saying it's all based on communication,
Mhm.
right? And I'm assuming that you reflect on your experiences
Oh, yeah.
to build your film
Yeah.
and to connect with the audience, right?
Yeah, many of us do, as filmmakers. This is, you know, we use that in the movie, but we also use it before in the process of creating the vision or the scene.
This is for you, Gary. This is Gary Cruz. Please let them know a little bit about yourself, and then I'll give you the question.
My name is Gary Cruz.
Speak up.
My name is Gary Cruz. I was raised in the Lower East Side. I'm an actor, and I've done various short films, and I'm also one of the directors and producers of Last One Standing, the documentary that's based on Ana de las Faldas. That has to do with the restaurant in the Lower East Side, and that'll be playing at 5 p.m. tonight. And thank you all for coming.
Okay.
That's great. It's ready for the next question. The question is, what led you to pursue a career in acting?
I don't know, I always like to be the clown, you know, class, but it's just what I like to do. I always enjoy the arts. When I moved to the Lower East Side, I was able to, I was taking a class on 4th Street between B and C. It was this organization, it was called Mobilization for Youth, where you would go for your GED class. And downstairs they had a theater called El Teatro Cuatro. And most of their plays were based on issues of the Hispanic community. And since I liked the arts, I was able to get in contact with them, and that's how I started my career as an actor. And then I just went on from there. I started working with different people. I worked with them, then I left them. I started working with Tato Laviera. I worked with Bimbo Rivas. And then I started doing different work on my own, trying to work, you know, with different agents. But I was not getting called much, so I said, you know what? I'm just gonna do this on my own. So I met William, and we started doing our own thing. You know, we started doing short films, and now we're doing this documentary. That's how it all started.
It's interesting because 3 of us on the panel come from the Lower East Side. We are affiliated with the Lower East Side. I was raised on the Lower East Side. And I find that in all the time growing up on there, acting, music, and film was always real important. As the neighborhood was burning down, that's what kept us going. I mean, I remember the block parties where they would set up a stage and they would act out their plays in the middle of this burnt out neighborhood. And, you know, it kind of helped us get through all the pain and suffering. Marlise was constantly photographing all this. But it's really, it kept us all going. And that's how important it is. It's like a shot in the arm
That is so.
when you're going through tough times. Anthony Carrillo, can you give us a little bit of background on yourself? I know a lot of it, but let's hear it
Of course.
from you.
My name is Anthony Carrillo. I was born here in 1964 in El Barrio, 117th Street. And New York's always been the greatest scenario that I experienced. Let me just make it short. Since I was 5 years old, I remember, I'm holding my mother's hand, and I heard this bongocero, and it was summertime, it was very late. There was a lot of people, and I just left my mom's arm, and I went through the audience with a lot of people, just to find out that this bongocero didn't have the eyesight. It was too white. He was no vidente, he was a blind guy. So I kind of got very nervous and scared. And then when I find out that I started looking at a lot of people that no one was my mother, I started crying. And this is the first time I ended up in a prison. So my mom went to get me at the prison, and like you said, music is it's a coordination thing. filming is coordination thing. It's comienzo, desenlace, clímax. Comienzo, desarrollo, clímax, desenlace y final. And but that's life. That's the way we were born, and we just develop. We get to a climax in our life. We just get a little old, and then that's the finale of the movie. That's the finale of the song. And I always consider New York the greatest scenario of all, just to mix that reality, which is music and movies, music and theater. And I really enjoy being in New York.
Your music, your question, what type of music did you grow up listening to? And what do you listen to today?
That was the first thing I heard was the bongocero Papi Andino playing a lot of recording with Ramito, a very trovador from the Flores family. But Ramito was the most listened through my father. He used to listen a lot of that music, típica de Puerto Rico. And it was William Rosario, El Gallito de Manatí, Ovidio González, Tobita Medina. It's just endless list of trovadores from Puerto Rico. The most that is stuck in my heart. It was William Rosario. They used to call him El Jíbaro del Yumac, which is Camuy al revés. La palabra Camuy, del pueblo de Camuy, letter by letter, if you do it, they used to call him El Jíbaro del Yumac. So this is the guy that I really used to, and the bongo player, all these recordings, more than 500 recordings, Papi Andino, from Puerta de Tierra, Santurce. He was San Juan or Santurce, he was from Papi Andino. That was the bongocero I first. Música típica, and then Rafael Cortijo, which is Roberto Roel, is the bongocero. So the main instrument in my career is bongo. And these are the two notes that I remember, which is Papi Andino and Roberto Roena playing with the combo de Rafael Cortijo. What I'm listening today is still the old music, because what became music today is it got heard by I don't know. It's how to blame, what to blame is very difficult. Because the thing is that music 30 years ago still sounds better than the music now. And it's more accurate, it's more for happiness. And I relate the music today, and I can't relate with the music today because it's just full of hate. It's full of anger. And before, we used to have a lot of songs that used to make people laugh and picture a scene, a scenario. Like it was so funny, like Mon Rivera, Lalito, it's a song that say, a la edad de los 30 años, mis padres me enviaron a la escuela por primera vez. When he was 30 years old, he went to school. And then he used to say, mi nombre es Pedro. It was a funny song that used to see us like a movie. Listening to this song, a 3-minute song, you used to picture a big movie, and it was kind of hilarious. So what I'm listening today, I say La Salsa de Colombia, which is pretty good. Galero, Diego Galé, Guayacán, Grupo Nietzsche, they still doing very good salsa. Peruvian people, Peru are starting the salsa. They got like the first 10 years of the development in salsa is pretty interesting. Venezuela's got good salsa. And I listen to the jazz today. It's not the jazz of the 80s when I used to hang at the SOBs and Blue Note and Village Gate, Salsa Meet Jazz on Mondays. I used to see McCoy Tyner and a lot of Art Blakey, a lot of great artists from jazz, but you don't see that anymore. You see a crazy technical music in jazz. It's all about how bad I am. So if it's a 5-piece band, it's like a 5 monsters playing, and you really don't enjoy your piece. It's just listening to too much information because it's 5 monsters playing. There's a battle of who's the best on stage. You get that a lot around. So you don't listen too much to a settled band, which purpose. What I'm listening today probably be Metallica. It's very accurate music. Slipknot, which is the very raw heavy metal, but it's very organized in terms of, it could be very dark, but it's still very organized musically. very difficult. And what I listen today is probably the Giovanni Dalgo's videos, you know, in terms of just keep forward with the practice. The 80s, puntillas, bata playing. I listen to a lot of old stuff. Not the new stuff, it's not, I'm not attached to it that much.
Another question. How did you get from Ramito to Paul Simon, Harry Belafonte, and Educator? Because you played with all three, and Residente, which is another thing. How do you make that transition?
By listening to so many, when I was 13 years old, I was already playing and touring with Arento, was a national ballet from Puerto Rico. Now, the first time I saw this, the show before they let me be part of the show, I was in the theater, el Centro de Convenciones. Centro de Convenciones en el Condado. Then I saw the show, but I got so impressed by the clothing of the artist. It was more like actors, you know. They got the hat and the pañuelo and the dress, like very settled with the lighting and all that stuff. That impressed me so much that I said I want to do this for the rest of my life. So getting to travel so much, I met a lot of African tribes in Italy. I met a lot of stuff that made me practice and listen to a lot of music. And this Regina from Brazil will top Gal Costa and will top any vocals to me. And this Regina didn't last that much. She died at age 33 or 38, something like that. Very young. But she's the top singer that I ever. Joe Arroyo from Colombia is the greatest singer. So I listened to a lot of Celtic music without, it was just on the radio in New York. We used to have a lot of radio stations with a lot of world music. So I used to connect with all that stuff. Passed away recently, Gary Cruz. He teach me a lot of stuff. So how I got there, because later on I saw in a Shaolin Temple Kung Fu movie that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I was quite rehearsing with Charlie Sepulveda when the guitar player told me that Harry Belafonte was looking for percussionists to start a tour in Germany. I was playing with Eddie Parmiri at Village Gate when Paul Simon was there looking for the Hate Man, a lot of musicians personally, and then we started working with him for 6 months, non-stop, almost every day. And Calle 13 just gave me a call for the Hijo del Cañaveral. I was not really expecting that phone call, but saxophone player, Edgar Abraham from Puerto Rico. He belonged to a Buddhist temple in New York, and they used to chant together. So we're talking about the percussion that he needed for the Grammy and stuff, and for the recording. And then, so it's been quite more luck, you know. And I was prepared for it. I was ready musically to just say yes. And when I was not ready, and I gotta say this, was when Gonzalo Rubalcaba called me to play with El Volcán in Europe. This is when I was like, I got frustrated because I really did not study music at all. I just learned how to play in the streets of New York. I learned how to play in the streets of New York. I never learned in music in school. So Giovanni couldn't make that good. He went to Japan, and then he recommended me. When I heard the music, I told Gonzalo, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do this one. He said, the plane tickets are already under your name and the hotels. I said, I don't know how we're going to fix this, but I'm not even 30% ready to play this gig. So I had to do the tour, but it was 5 gigs only, 5 countries. But I couldn't play. I was just guessing on those 5 shows, and I didn't really feel good about that. So I was not ready for that one either.
Well, we've spoken about this before. The age of instant communication, right? What role do you see film and music playing in the dissemination of information and the promotion of culture?
Oh, that's perfect. I think that's why we're here today, actually. I think it's super important. I'm glad you asked me that question because yesterday I was watching the film, Tato La Vieja's film, and I was sort of like thinking like how important it is for us to document the work we do. Sometimes we wait till people pass away before we can like celebrate their work, and I think that's why this is important. Like celebrate us now while we're still alive. And I think the difference is like I think you guys were talking about early on. Like we went through a lot of not so great conditions and where we lived, with very limited resources, but I think for some reason in those moments in time where we created our art, our plays, our music, for some reason everything was just beautiful. And I think the interesting or amazing part is that now we have the technology to be able to kind of show that globally, where folks can now watch this video somewhere in Europe and be like, wow, this is amazing work that they're doing on the Lower East Side. So I think it's just, I'm fortunate to be able to live both of those time frames, to be there when we used to just like, create percussion from a bucket because we couldn't afford a conga, or pots and pans where we used to practice timbales or something like that, to, like you said, those performances because we couldn't actually film anything. We would have to do these short plays, and we had people like William Rosario and Tato La Vieja that would just randomly pull you off the street because they felt that you could play the piragüero or the wino guy or something like that. So I think it's very important, and I'm glad that that's happening here today.
I think that's one of the reasons why someone like Maurice Maunder is so important, because we grew up in poverty in the Lower East Side, and we didn't have money for cameras, films, and all that stuff. At least someone was able to document some of what went on. And here now, we're reflecting on this, and we're growing from it. Basically, we're building on it. William, this question's for you. What role, if any, does identity, promotion, culture, and the preservation of history play in the development of your work?
It plays heavily into our work. We try. I grew up in Puerto Rico, in the 80s and 90s, and unfortunately, I wasn't really in tune with my roots. We know about salsa, the basic stuff, but we really wasn't like really connected to our roots until I came to the Lower East Side in the 80s, and I saw, what was going on over here. They were keeping alive bomba plena, a lot of the stuff that I wasn't really like into back in those days. And I was trying to get my way, or I was trying to make my way and try to connect to my roots. And when I started doing film, I said, I really need to incorporate that in my movies. And I think in all of my short films and documentary now and stuff that I've done, I always try to bring that out. Bomba plena, we always have bomba plena, we always have different types of music, and that promotes our culture, like you said, that anybody can see that now anywhere in the world. And it's important for us as Puerto Ricans, anywhere in the world, that we connect, and we stay connected, because we don't know what's going to happen. Unfortunately, we don't know what's going to happen with our island. But we take that with us wherever we go, and as long as we keep it alive, I feel as a filmmaker, I feel this is kind of my responsibility to be part of that.
Now, one of the things that we were faced with here, most of us studied here in the States, and we were taught out of the regular history books here and the regular information that leaves you scratching your head sometime. After you go through all the schooling, you wonder why you got this information. because it's questionable. Now we have the technology at our fingertips to write in the missing pages, right? 'Cause that's part of what we're doing, right? We're trying to make sure that we disseminate the information. Like you said, you came here and you found Bo McLennan. I know our group here has struggled real hard to find out about Bo McLennan because we struggled with identity issues here.
Right.
And, you know, we're all Americans. Right? Let's be very clear. You know, we all need to be proud that we're here. Now, it's a continuum. Being American is put on that continuum. What part of the continuum are we at? If we're constantly leaving people out and eliminating information, that goes towards one part of the continuum, which basically keeps us in the dark, right? The other thing is to struggle and fight all the time to make sure that the truth is always on record. And that's a big struggle too, right? When you go through this in life. You have the opportunity through your films now to make a difference. Because not only do you have the opportunity, you have a responsibility to make sure that what you put in those films, you know, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. We have limited resources. You either make a difference or you don't.
In the film, where I'm looking at pictures, old pictures of my family, and I see a picture of my wife, but I had to pick my own pictures. So I picked my own pictures. I picked one of my brother, of my sister, and I started looking at and then I told the director, listen, I know you want me to look sad in this film, and I don't usually cry in films. I'm not that kind of actor. But
You told me you weren't going to cry. You said, I'm
I'm not gonna cry. Yo soy Rojo. I'm not gonna fucking cry. But as I'm checking out the pictures, I see my sister's picture who died in a car crash in real life. I get emotional. But when I look at that picture, I didn't even cry in her funeral when she really died. But when I look at that picture at that moment, I started crying.
Yeah.
It just happened. And the director said, okay, let's do it again. And I looked like, I'm like, fuck you, man. Anyway, I'm just joking, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
But we did the scene again, and I cried again.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting that as an actor. So I don't know what happened at that moment where I connected with her. And the scene was really, really great.
Yeah, it was emotional. It was very emotional.
It was pretty heavy, and music-wise, yeah.
Yeah, the music.
The first one that we picked was something that had to do with the sadness of the character.
Yes, yeah.
Then we picked the salsa because of the dancing scene, and then towards the end, for the credits, we picked
One of his numbers.
no, it was by Alma Moyo.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I Roma.
And they had a great piece. So we
Alex Lasai.
so we added that to the credits.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a pretty heavy experience.
I thought it was really interesting because I was watching it and I felt what you just described, by the way.
Awesome.
And then I also saw the contrast with the music. Because it's kind of like a melancholy, sad film that you can probably apply to any immigrant coming here. This person came from another place, came here, found themselves alone, had neighbors, I mean, lived in a building with people coming in and out, but people all over, and found himself alone, sick, trying to boost himself up through the salsa music, because he tried to get himself going like we all do. But always slipping back because, you know, your memories, what you miss, and the reflection on your life, and, you know, you had that struggle going on in there. And it's interesting because for me, it made me think about my own life. I mean, this is generic for all of us. Again, the continuum. It ran the entire continuum. So it was a great piece of work.
If I could just step in. We only have about 5 minutes left, and I wanted to try to get Try to get some
music.
percussion.
Yeah,
So,
who is that guy?
we-
That guy is-
This guy? This is Eddie Conde.
My brother Eddie.
He came just in time to play some percussion.
Yeah.
We're trying to get this, we're trying to do this now. I don't know if anyone has a question or two, because again, we're limited with time. Unfortunately, we started a little late. But if so, while we get the percussion in place, feel free.
So for the filmmakers, the folk, actually it's for everyone, how do we get non-Latin audiences to connect with our music, right? So if part of our conversation is how do we help our music, or how can we get our music more frequently in the films, we're talking about mainstream, potentially non-Latin films. Like, is there any thoughts on what we can do to help that happen, so folks can recognize and connect with the music before they need it? I don't even know if that was the right question. I might have changed it at the end there. But, I think that's the crucial piece, right? If we're talking about how do we get people to relate and understand our music in a way that it helps convey a message during a scene, how do we do that? Is there any ideas about that? Are there any ideas? Excuse me.
I believe that we can just keep working on the old generation, and including everybody.
Yep.
All generations, with their own type of the way they look, the way they feel, what they flow, whatever the flow is, we got to have it there. For instance, I'm working on a band called Jambawa, and it's very New York. We got gringos, we got people from Venezuela, we got young guys. My son, he's 22 years old, he recorded a song, and we got me, I'm 54. Who else is like a little older than me in the band? So we got all generations there, like a lot of young people and a lot of old people. And I think if we film it as well, put it on film, right? That's a great idea. To follow that graffiti type of thing, patinetas and all, sulfur and all that. The rocky new model young guys of this new generation. They'll never picture how we survived without a cell phone back in the 70s. They don't even have a clue, but I think if we keep connecting with the new generation, we'll be good.
If I could just say something real quick, as far as our music, if we go back as far as we can remember, mambo, salsa, whatever we changed it to, it always lived on. It always kept going. As a young person, what got me interested in my own music, and I think it happens with a lot of teenagers. Some transition happens that salsa thing, something Gibson. But the Boogaloo era, believe it or not, was very influential in me listening, because it also came in English. So now I'm identifying, because remember, being born here, it's English and Spanish. And then the controversy that we go into, que tú eres de allá, tú eres de aquí, New York, blah, 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 whatever, right? And one poet said it, I wasn't born there, but my heart is from there, which is very amazing. Latin music has always transitioned on its own. Rock and roll never died. Never died, right? Just like rhythm and blues, stuff like that. Same thing with our music. So when different generations come in and put their influence, allow it and accept it, right? To bring in the new influencing with it. So it's great. You have to allow whatever happens, right? People call certain music, it was, what is salsa monga? And I don't believe in that. I believe in the transition of whatever happened. The basis of what we do will always be there. The heart of what we do and how we play will always be there. You can't take that. But allow people and influencing it, let it happen. That's the most important thing. It'll always have the heart. Like when I was teaching my daughter today clave, I said, you're the heart of the beat. You're what I listen to. You're this, right? And everything else around it. And then people that I was teaching today, I said, you have to be there. But the minute you play it, I'm right with you. So it's always in you. Our music will never die. So we don't have to be so afraid of what we got to do. Is change that. Just play. And let whatever transition, whoever's going to influence it, let it happen. We'll still be there.
That answers your question?
So what about transition?
Yeah.
I want to say one thing on that before we close it out. I hear the dialogue on salsa, I hear the dialogue on different types of music. And what I propose to you is when you look at it, take ownership of it. It's your music. Salsa, to be totally honest with you, is American music. It was music that was developed here with different roots. We wouldn't be able to have salsa without the Louis Khans. We've had Jewish people involved, we've had Chinese people involved, African American people involved. It's a mixture of jazz, rock, bomba en plena, song.
Calypso.
It's everything. It's a stew.
Yeah.
And it belongs to us. It was developed here
Right.
because the people here were communicating with each other and they were communing with each other. And we have a problem because we start labeling stuff and we start excluding. And we damage ourselves when we do that. We need to take ownership that all of this is beautiful and this is what it is. It's us. There is no authentic rhythm here because basically what we've done is a lot of the musicians learn by listening to records. You can't even hear the clarity and the rhythms off the records back in the day. So it's kind of like a version of what they thought they heard. And they elaborated on that. And they came up with new rhythms. And they expanded on that. And then it's grown. Bottom line, what keeps it alive is the soul that's coming through it, the intent. Why the person played it, what the person is trying to communicate with you. They're trying to communicate a feeling. If you check out the drum, and this is why I really have difficulty with our history books and all that, drums go back to Africa. We spent a lot of time in school learning history. We didn't study the journey of the drum, and it went through the cotton fields, and it went through the spirituals and blues and calypso and salsa and bomba and plena, rap, you name it. That thing has been traveling because it's been communicating. And we tend to forget. The roots go all the way back. That's the way we communicated with it. That, it's a vehicle. It's kind of like a megaphone. You know? So whenever you hear a drum, we got to remember, somebody's trying to let us know something.
Yeah.
They're trying to communicate something.
That's, you know, I never thought about that, but that's very interesting. That's the way they communicate.
You come along and you use that in your films
Yeah. And I
to reinforce the communication. You know? That way it clarifies it.
I just wanted to say thank you very much, gentlemen, for actually having enough passion. My name is Carmen.
Hi,
Some of you haven't met in person yet. For having enough passion to want to come here today on this Saturday to begin the very important conversation that is long overdue. Thank you very much.
We have more time.
And thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you for joining us. And without further ado,
Yeah, these are two.
and
Where's my little girl? Where's Charm?
Bye.
Charm, breathe out. All right, can you hear me? Can you come down a little further, a little down here? I want you to help the audience with something, okay? Can you do this for me, honey?